nurturing connections and party plans. Serenity shared with a smile, "My husband and I stay in touch whenever we can. Our marriage has improved a lot now." She kept her argument with Zachary a secret from her sister and aunt's family, not wanting to cause unnecessary worry. Elisa, intrigued, whispered, "How are things going with Josh and Jasmine? I'm dying to know." Josh was Zachary's right-hand man and came from an intelligence background. Elisa contemplated selling this information to the press, but she valued her friendship with Jasmine and didn't want to betray her. She decided to keep their secret until Josh was ready to go public. After responding to Zachary's text message, Serenity chuckled and suggested, "Since Aunt Audrey is hosting a party tomorrow night, why not invite Jasmine and Mr. Buchan? They can attend the party and see how things are progressing between them." Elisa agreed and expressed her desire to invite Jasmine, as she was both Serenity's best friend and her new friend. She also wanted Josh to attend, considering he might hesitate due to his position at York Corporation. However, if they informed Mr. Buchan that Miss Sox would be attending, it could be a good reason for Josh to join as a member of the Buchan family. Elisa requested Clive and Alice to send invitations to the Buchans and make sure Josh received one. She also asked Alice to personally deliver an invitation to Jasmine. Clive and Alice agreed to Elisa's plan. Meanwhile, Zachary discovered from their text conversation that Serenity was having a meal at the Stone residence. They exchanged playful banter and affectionate messages before Serenity ended the conversation, reminding Zachary to take care of his health. After the meal, Mrs. Stone and Elisa went upstairs to prepare themselves. Alice proposed taking Serenity and Liberty for a walk to familiarize themselves with the surroundings. However, Liberty declined, preferring to stay with Sunny, who needed a nap. Alice and Serenity embarked on their stroll, engaging in lively conversation. During their walk, Alice brought up the topic of Serenity's impulsive marriage, having heard from Elisa about falling in love at first sight and the haste in getting married. Curiously, Alice questioned Serenity about her hasty marriage. Serenity turned around and explained, "It's a good thing my sister didn't join us. Now that my sister has divorced Hank, everything is fine. I knew I was the cause of their fights, which is why I rushed into marriage." Serenity shared the story of her quick marriage with Alice. Alice nodded in understanding and mentioned that old Mrs. York, Zachary's grandmother, likely paired them together as a way to repay Serenity's kindness in saving her. Alice acknowledged that she had rarely met old Mrs. York, but her man had described her as friendly and down-to-earth. Alice pondered why someone as formidable as old Mrs. York needed saving, wondering if she had targeted Serenity from the beginning and schemed to make her Zachary's wife. Alice proceeded to ask if Serenity's husband worked at York Corporation and if his last name was also York. With a smile, Serenity responded, "Alice, do you think my husband is the wealthy heir of the York family? My husband is just an ordinary salaryman, but he holds a managerial position at the company. There are many managers at York Corporation, and my husband rarely gets to interact with the great Mr. York in person. His work has been smooth mainly because, well, he has some connections." Serenity hinted at the benefits her husband received at work thanks to his association with Josh, leaving Zachary and Josh unaware of this arrangement. Alice couldn't help but question who the actual beneficiary of those benefits was. Alice continued her line of inquiry and asked about Serenity's husband's name. Serenity revealed that his name was Zachary. Surprised, Alice repeated, "Zachary York." Serenity confirmed, adding, "Yes, but I doubt he has the same name as the Mr. York." Alice grinned but felt a storm brewing inside her. It was starting to make sense. Serenity's husband was indeed the Zachary York. While there were many people with the same surname in the world, the combination of the name Zachary York and his position at York Corporation was too coincidental. Alice couldn't believe that her man's suspicion had turned out to be true. It explained Zachary's sudden invitation to Clive for a meal, as he must have known about Serenity's family connections and wanted to get on Clive's good side. Serenity shared that she wasn't the only one to suspect a connection between her husband and the wealthy York family. She found it hard to believe that a man of status and power like Mr. York would need to rush into a marriage like hers. Jasmine often joked about Serenity marrying a rich heir, but Serenity dismissed it as fiction, questioning how many rich heirs were actually available for random marriages. Alice smiled and responded, "You're right. Fiction should not be taken too seriously, but stories often draw inspiration from real life. Sometimes, life can be more cliché than stories." Alice showed Serenity around the residence before excusing herself to take a nap. Serenity decided to stay outside and enjoy the scenery of the yard instead of going back inside. She noticed a few garden patches along the fence, realizing that her aunt must have taken care of the gardening herself. Despite coming from a wealthy and powerful family, Mrs. Stone's upbringing in an orphanage and her experience with poverty likely made her appreciate hands-on activities like gardening. Concerned about Serenity feeling cold, Alice offered to fetch a jacket. However, Serenity reassured her that she wasn't chilly and encouraged her to go take a nap. Once Alice was inside, Serenity took out her phone and opened WhatsApp. She noticed that Zachary had changed his profile picture to a photo of their wedding rings, which brought a smile to her face. She decided to initiate a video chat with him. Zachary answered quickly, his voice sounding deep and hoarse. Serenity couldn't help but feel a pang of pain hearing him like that. She knew it must have been tough for him after they had another fight and she went drinking at a bar while he was away on business. He had rushed back to check on her and returned to work soon after. Serenity asked if he had slept well, to which he replied that he might have caught a cold. She scolded him, telling him to layer up and have his meals on time. She assured him that she was fine and had only gone for a few drinks to let off some steam. Zachary stared at her for a moment before apologizing, acknowledging that he had been overly sensitive and self-centered, disregarding her feelings. He realized that she was an independent woman and admitted that he had tried to make her rely on him completely to satisfy his own pride as a man. He took responsibility for his pettiness, asking her to yell at him if he made the same mistake again, but urging her not to go drinking at a bar because she couldn't handle her liquor well. Serenity listened quietly, her voice softening as she responded. She realized that Zachary's strong reaction was a display of his concern for her. She suggested that they be more patient and understanding toward each other, acknowledging that they got married without knowing or loving each other. While she couldn't promise that they wouldn't have another fight, she assured him that they could take a few days to cool down and calmly discuss any problems they faced. The fight had left both of them with mental scars and bruises, but they understood that marriage was a lifelong journey. They accepted that fights, silent treatment, and misunderstandings would inevitably arise along the way, and they were committed to navigating them together. Understanding the importance of communication, Serenity expressed her concern for Zachary's health. She advised him to avoid cold drinks, make a doctor's appointment after work, and suggested he go to the doctor immediately if he had a fever. Zachary, feeling his burning head, didn't disclose the truth and assured Serenity that he was fine and would get medicine from the pharmacy later. Observant as always, Serenity noticed that Zachary looked a little red and questioned whether he had a temperature. Zachary smiled and assured her that he didn't have a fever. He then asked about her well-being at her aunt's place, inquiring if her uncle and cousins were treating her well. Serenity shared her positive experience with her relatives, mentioning the strong bond she developed with Elisa, emphasizing the remarkable connection of blood relations and how well they got along. Zachary expressed his intention to visit Serenity's aunt during the New Year's holidays and planned to reveal his true identity to Serenity before the visit. He was prepared to accept her response wholeheartedly, as advised by his Nana. Serenity mentioned the upcoming party and expressed her desire for Zachary to be there with her. She found comfort and reassurance in his presence, describing him as her Superman who always found a way to help her in any situation. Zachary chuckled, considered lucky to assist her, and encouraged her not to feel burdened at the party, as her aunt held standing in Wilspoon and would ensure everyone treated her with respect. Expressing her concern again, Serenity urged Zachary to go to the hospital due to his worsening appearance. She promised to video chat with him later that night and insisted that if he didn't improve, he should provide his address so she could take him to the doctor. While Serenity might sound stern, Zachary understood her care and concern for his well-being. Despite feeling lightheaded, Zachary felt his illness wash away through Serenity's care and concern. He responded with a smile, explaining that he didn't have time for a video chat that night and suggested they have 1 and 2 days instead. If his condition didn't improve by then, he welcomed Serenity's assistance in taking him to the hospital. Serenity jokingly threatened Zachary, telling him she would come and keep tabs on him if he didn't go to the doctor. Amused by her words, Zachary asked if she would really do that, to which Serenity sternly warned him not to dare avoid the doctor. She reminded him to take care of himself and hung up, leaving him to his work. Serenity then encountered her sister Liberty, who mentioned that her son Sunny was asleep and she wanted to take a walk for exercise. Liberty shared her weight loss journey, emphasizing the importance of women taking care of themselves and being financially independent. She expressed her dissatisfaction with her failed marriage and the negative changes she observed in her ex-husband after he achieved success. Serenity supported her sister's weight loss efforts and suggested that she could run in the morning and evening. She noticed Liberty's determination to get back in shape and admired her resilience in starting a new life. They decided to take a walk together, with Serenity joining Liberty in her exercise routine. Unbeknownst to them, Alice and Clive observed the sisters from a window on the second floor. Alice asked Clive about Serenity's potential reaction when she discovered her connection to the Yorks. Clive remained silent, unable to predict Serenity's response. He knew that once the news broke, his sister would be furious and turn against Serenity. Clive then made a phone call to Zachary, suggesting they meet for coffee at a cafe in the Wiltspoon Hotel. However, Zachary regretfully informed Clive that he was currently away on business, expressing his disappointment and the need to postpone their meeting. Clive silently cursed Zachary, still unsure if he was the same person mentioned by Serenity. Zachary's response confirmed Clive's suspicions, and he confronted him about being Serenity's husband and hiding his identity as the heir of the York family. Zachary remained silent, neither confirming nor denying the accusation. Clive expressed his anger, mentioning Elisa's infatuation with Zachary and how she publicly declared her love for him, unaware that he was already married to Serenity. Clive questioned why Zachary kept his marriage a secret from Serenity and mentioned the complicated situation between Serenity and Elisa, who were now best friends and cousins. Clive expressed concern about the potential fallout once Elisa and Serenity discovered the truth. Alice intervened, urging Clive to lower his voice to avoid alerting their mother and Elisa. Clive took a moment to calm down, and Alice went to fetch him a glass of water, advising him to control his emotions. Meanwhile, Zachary waited on the line until Clive had vented some of his frustration before responding coldly that it was a matter between him and Serenity, with no obligation to explain to Clive. Clive became even more incensed by Zachary's dismissive attitude and threatened to reveal Zachary's true identity to Serenity. Zachary maintained that it was his decision when to disclose his identity and denied any romantic involvement with Elisa, stating that it was Elisa's own issue and feelings. He emphasized that his relationship with Serenity was brought together by his nana, and they had done nothing morally or legally wrong to be together. Zachary's voice turned husky as he expressed his concerns about Elisa potentially causing harm to Serenity. Clive was left speechless, unable to find the words to respond. Zachary decided it was not a good time to continue the conversation and proposed treating Clive to dinner after New Year's, indicating they would talk again then. Clive sarcastically remarked about Zachary's guilt and how the situation had made Serenity his cousin. Changing the topic, Clive asked Zachary to refer to him as his cousin. Zachary ended the call with Clive promptly, but Clive wasn't bothered by it. He smirked coldly, determined to find a way to make Zachary acknowledge him as his cousin. Alice, pouring Clive a glass of water, reminded him that Zachary was now family and that Zachary being Serenity's husband was a significant factor. Clive saw this as an opportunity to gain the upper hand over his longtime rival, Zachary, and he planned to invite Serenity to join them when Zachary treated him to dinner. He relished the idea of Zachary having to address him as his cousin. Alice found Clive's plan a bit mad and reminded him that Zachary was his equal and couldn't be forced to acknowledge him if he didn't want to. Clive insisted that he would make things difficult for Zachary and publicly call him rude in front of Serenity if he refused to recognize him as the older cousin. Alice was speechless, imagining a discreet showdown between Clive and Zachary. Zachary initially felt a bit worried when Clive saw through his disguise, but after some contemplation, he felt at ease. Clive's anger was fueled by concern for Elisa rather than Serenity, and Zachary no longer had to worry about Clive exposing the truth about his identity. He trusted that Clive would find ways to keep his secret hidden. Zachary also planned to show his affection for Serenity in front of Clive and be on his best behavior during their dinner to avoid any confrontations that might make him look bad in Serenity's eyes. As for acknowledging Clive as the older cousin, Zachary didn't feel obligated to do so, knowing that Clive wouldn't harm him if he refused. However, Zachary found himself in a difficult situation and called someone to quickly fetch medicine from the pharmacy for him. Meanwhile, in the study on the second floor of the Buchan's residence, Josh was busy working while reading text messages in a group chat about protecting Zachary's privacy. The head of the Buchan household, Julian, was praised for his efforts in safeguarding Zachary's personal information from the press. Julian and Josh engaged in conversation, with Julian jokingly remarking on Josh's dedication to work rather than pursuing his future wife. Josh mentioned inviting his future brother-in-law, Drake, to dinner that night. Julian teased Josh, suggesting he should focus on wooing his future wife, not her brother, and advised him to build a relationship with the entire family, including the mother-in-law. As they were talking, someone knocked on the door. Josh sat up straight as someone knocked on the door. He invited the person to come in and was surprised when a bodyguard entered with an invitation. The bodyguard handed Josh the invitation, stating that it was sent by Mr. Stone and that the Stones were hosting a banquet the following night and had invited him to attend. Josh was skeptical and questioned the suddenness of the banquet and why Clive had someone specially deliver the invitation. He suspected that Audrey, the head of the Stone family, wanted to introduce her two nieces to the elites of Wiltspoon. The bodyguard informed Josh that there was also a message from Mr. Stone. Miss Socks, Jasmine, would be among the invitees. Josh's eyes lit up with excitement. He grinned and asked the bodyguard if the messenger was still outside. Upon confirmation, Josh instructed the bodyguard to inform the messenger that he would be there on time for the banquet. The bodyguard respectfully left, and Josh placed the invitation on the desk, realizing that he wouldn't be able to play tricks on Clive the next time they met. Julian, observing the situation, remarked that it would be Zachary, not Josh, who should express such sentiments since Miss Socks had no relationship with Clive. Julian tidied up his work, leaned back, and explained to Josh why he was hesitant to get married, emphasizing the importance of finding the right person. Josh agreed and mentioned how Zachary had changed after falling in love with Serenity and how Elisa and Jasmine had a good relationship. The The York and Stone families had a history of conflict, and Josh had previously helped Zachary set traps for Stone Group and plotted against Clive. The mention of Zachary's and Josh's names in Stone Group would make the employees furious. However, Josh acknowledged that the invitation to the banquet was a consideration for Jasmine and an opportunity he couldn't waste. Julian announced that he was going out, and when Josh asked where he was going, Julian replied that it was not something Josh would enjoy following him for. Julian often spent little time at home, and his activities outside were unknown to others. Josh, not forgetting the invitation, decided to accompany Julian and mentioned that he would buy some things for Drake to bring back to Jasmine in the evening. Building a good relationship with Drake was essential, as it would improve the Sox family's opinion of Josh. What would it be like for a woman to encounter her ex-husband and his mistress while out shopping? Liberty didn't have much of a reaction to the situation. However, when Jessica, the mistress, entered the store and saw the Hunt sisters, she instinctively clung tightly to Hank's arm, as if wanting others to know they were a couple. Sonny, who was with Serenity, called out to Hank when he saw him. The people in the store turned to look at Hank and noticed him standing next to the young and beautiful Jessica, as well as Liberty, whom Sonny had referred to as Mommy earlier. The store clerks looked at Liberty with sympathy, realizing that she was shopping for clothes but ended up witnessing her husband's infidelity. Hank approached Serenity under the watchful eyes of the store clerks, and Jessica followed closely. Hank reached out to hug Sonny, but Serenity didn't hand Sonny to him directly. Instead, she placed him on the ground, allowing Hank to crouch down and pick up his son if Sonny wanted to be held by him. Sonny, unaware of his parents' divorce and not particularly close to his father, didn't reject Hank's embrace and allowed him to hold him. The store clerks were speechless, ready to call the police if a fight were to break out. Meanwhile, Liberty continued to browse for clothes as if nothing had happened. She bought a few sets of clothing from the brand she liked before getting married, and she chose this store out of habit when shopping with Audrey. Realization dawned on the store clerks as they understood that Hank was Liberty's ex-husband, explaining why she could remain calm while seeing him with another woman. Jessica, finding it irritating to see Hank playing with his son, couldn't express her displeasure. She walked over to Liberty, flaunting herself like a victor. Liberty didn't stop looking at the clothes, giving Jessica a sidelong glance and casually remarking that she could still afford to buy the clothes with $1 million Hank had given her. Jessica was taken aback by Liberty's response. Serenity approached and picked out a set of clothes that suited her sister. Jessica, with a vague smile, reached out and grabbed the clothes, commenting on Liberty's body and suggesting that she couldn't wear those clothes. Serenity didn't bother to retrieve the clothes, feeling that Jessica's actions were disrespectful. Serenity couldn't understand why Jessica was intentionally making her presence known and showing off her relationship with Hank in front of Liberty. She wondered why Jessica was trying to assert herself as the winner, despite being Hank's former mistress who had now become his girlfriend. Jessica, young, pretty, and having a hold over Hank, wanted to prove herself and showcase her relationship. When Liberty was married to Hank, he led a comfortable life with everything taken care of. But now, it was Jessica who was enjoying that lifestyle. Hank believed that Jessica was his true love, and after easily defeating Liberty and gaining his deep affection, Jessica couldn't wait to show off and provoke Liberty. However, Liberty paid no attention to Jessica's antics and continued to pick out more clothes for herself. Frustrated, Jessica attempted to grab the clothes again. This time, Serenity intervened, catching Jessica's wrist and warning her not to bully Liberty. Serenity pushed her away, forcing Jessica to retreat to Hank's side. In her anger, Jessica scolded Serenity and questioned whether her man knew about her aggressive behavior. Serenity confidently responded that her man liked her assertiveness, further infuriating Jessica. When Jessica saw that Hank was holding Sunny instead of defending her, she slapped his arm in anger and accused him of not standing up for her. Concerned for Sunny's safety, Serenity called the boy over and took him in her arms, warning Hank to keep an eye on his woman. Liberty, taking back her son, handed the clothes to the clerk and commented on Jessica's behavior, stating that she was just a mistress trying to prove herself against the legal wife. Hank called out to Liberty with a dark expression, criticizing her for shopping in that store and suggesting she couldn't wear the clothes. Liberty glanced at him and calmly instructed the sales clerk to ring up all the clothes she had chosen. Jessica sarcastically remarked on Liberty's newfound wealth, mentioning her rich aunt who had given her millions of dollars and luxurious items. This was what Jessica was most jealous about. After Liberty's divorce from Hank, she had discovered her wealthy aunt from the Stone family, a powerful family second only to the Yorks, with assets worth billions. The entire Brown family, including Hank's mother, regretted not realizing Liberty's connections earlier. Audrey and Elisa entered the store at that moment, with Audrey wearing a gloomy expression. She confidently told the clerk to pack up all the clothes in the store for her niece, except for the ones Liberty was already holding. Audrey's actions indicated her support for Liberty and her disapproval of Jessica. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Voice Novel, and follow Voice Novel on Facebook, so you will get notified whenever a new video is uploaded. Thank you.